Silence is not weakness. It's not passivity. It's not fear. Silence is strategy. It's power. And when used right, it's victory. The loudest person in the room isn't the most confident. The one who boasts the most often has the least to back it up. Truth strength doesn't need applause. It doesn't beg for attention. It moves in silence and lets results make the noise. Silence is often misunderstood. In a world driven by noise, social media posts, constant updates, opinions broadcasted every second, silence can be mistaken for a lack of presence, or worse, a lack of power. But that misunderstanding is where its true strength lies. Silence is not weakness. It is not an absence of thought, ambition, or courage. In fact, it is the opposite. Silence is a strategic choice. It is the decision to pause, observe, and move with intention rather than impulse. It is the foundation of self-control, and self-control is a cornerstone of personal power. Those who are truly confident don't feel the need to fill the room with their voice. They don't seek validation by broadcasting every move. They understand that speaking too soon or too much can give away their plans, expose their doubts, or distract them from the work that actually matters. Silence is not about being passive. It is about being purposeful. When you are silent, you create space for clarity. You start to see things others miss. You begin to understand not just what people say, but why they say it. You sharpen your intuition. You learn to read the energy of a room, the intentions behind words, and the subtle shifts that reveal the truth behind appearances. Silence allows you to study your environment. It gives you the edge in situations where others rush in emotionally or react without thinking. The quiet mind is a prepared mind. It listens before it speaks. It watches before it moves. This patience, this ability to restrain the impulse to always respond, is a sign of maturity and inner mastery. People often speak from emotion, anger, fear, pride. But silence forces emotion to settle. It demands control. And from control comes clarity. The person who can remain silent under pressure, who can sit still in the storm while others panic, is often the one who comes out ahead. In competitive situations, silence is a tactical advantage. In business, relationships, negotiations, those who speak less often hold more leverage. Why? Because mystery creates curiosity, because unpredictability creates tension, because while others reveal their hands too early, the quiet strategist holds theirs until the moment is right. Silence can disarm. It can unsettle. It can shift the balance of power without a single word being spoken. Even in self-development, silence plays a critical role. It is within silence that you hear your own thoughts clearly. It is where introspection happens, where goals are set, not for show, but for substance. The most important conversations you'll ever have aren't with others. They're with yourself. And those conversations happen in silence. That's where you define who you are, what you want, and what you're willing to do to get there. Silence is not empty. It is full of focus, awareness, and strength. It is the chosen state of those who understand that power does not always roar. Sometimes it simply watches, waits, and acts when the time is right. Loud talk does not equal real confidence or results. In fact, the need to constantly talk, to be seen and heard at every opportunity, often reveals something deeper. An insecurity, a need for approval, a lack of substance behind the words. People who are genuinely confident don't feel the urge to prove themselves to everyone they meet. They don't seek external validation to confirm their worth. Their self-belief is quiet, stable, and internal. It is rooted in what they know they're capable of, not what they can convince others of in the moment. There's a difference between someone who speaks to share value and someone who speaks to be seen. The former offers something of substance. The latter often hides behind words to distract from the absence of real action. In this age where self-promotion is normalized and even encouraged, it's easy to mistake volume for value. But confidence doesn't shout. It doesn't need to. True confidence is demonstrated, not declared. It's revealed in how someone carries themselves, how they respond under pressure, and how they navigate challenges, not in how loudly they talk about their plans, dreams, or past victories. Often, the people who spend the most time talking about what they're going to do never actually do it. They're too caught up in painting the picture, in getting applause for the idea, rather than building the result. Loud declarations feel good, they feel like momentum, but they can become a trap. When you talk too much about your goals before you've taken real action, you may satisfy the emotional reward prematurely. You get praise for what you haven't yet earned. Over time, that habit drains your drive. You begin to perform for approval instead of pushing forward with discipline. Confidence, when it's real, is reflected in presence. It's the calm in someone's voice. It's the control in their movements. It's the way they don't chase validation because they don't need it. They've already validated themselves through effort, through struggle, through progress no one saw but them. You don't need to tell the world you're confident when your actions make it obvious. People notice when someone is grounded. People listen when someone speaks with purpose instead of noise. You don't have to raise your voice when your words carry weight. This is why loudness often signals the opposite of strength. It can be a mask, a performance. It can be a wall built to hide uncertainty. And though it may impress in the short term, it always falls apart when pressure hits. The moment challenges arrive, the loud talker is forced to show results. And if the words aren't backed by substance, the illusion fades quickly. On the other hand, the quiet achiever doesn't need to scramble. They've already done the work. Their results speak in volumes their voice never had to reach. Real results come from patience, focus, and disciplined execution. They don't come from announcing intentions over and over again. Confidence is in the doing, not the declaring. It's earned in silence, proven in action, and known by those who don't need to say a word to command respect. Focusing on actions instead of announcements is one of the most powerful shifts a person can make. In today's world, there is constant pressure to share every move, every plan, every ambition with others, especially through social media and public platforms. There is this growing desire to be recognized, to be validated, and to be applauded. Not for what we've done, but for what we say we're going to do. This creates a culture where words are valued more than work, and where intention is often mistaken for achievement. But real progress doesn't happen in the spotlight. It happens in quiet hours, behind the scenes, away from the noise and attention. When you focus on announcements, you give energy to perception instead of production. You become more concerned with how others view you than with the integrity of what you're building. That mindset can be dangerous. It shifts your motivation from internal drive to external praise. You may start projects not because they matter to you, but because they sound impressive to others. You may take shortcuts to meet expectations instead of building something solid and sustainable. Over time, you fall into a loop of performance rather than progress. But actions speak louder. They carry weight. They have impact. They leave a trail that words can't fake. Doing the work, staying committed, and letting results speak for themselves is a discipline. It means being comfortable with delayed recognition. It means trusting that your success will be evident when the time is right, not when you shout it from the rooftops. It's about learning to value the process more than the applause. The people who truly succeed over the long term are not the ones who made the biggest promises. They're the ones who showed up every day and kept moving forward, whether anyone was watching or not. There's power in restraint. When you choose not to broadcast your goals, you protect them. You give them room to grow without the weight of expectation or judgment. You stay focused on the next step, not the reaction you hope to get. Your energy stays concentrated on doing rather than proving. That concentration is what separates those who finish from those who fade. Because when obstacles appear, and they always do, it's your commitment to action that keeps you going, not the memory of the promises you made to the world. Focusing on action also builds trust. People may enjoy bold talk in the moment, but they remember consistent execution. They learn to rely on those who say little and deliver much. In business, in leadership, in personal growth, the most respected individuals are often the quiet ones who keep moving forward. Their work becomes their reputation. Their consistency becomes their legacy. And their results speak louder than any statement they could have made. The world doesn't need more declarations, it needs more demonstrations, more proof. More quiet achievers who don't just dream big, they work big, deliver big, and let their success tell the story. Silence allows space for discipline, focus, and deep work. In a world that constantly demands our attention, where notifications, conversations, and distractions fill every moment, silence has become rare, almost uncomfortable for many. But it is in silence that the most meaningful growth takes place. It is in the quiet that we come face to face with our thoughts, our habits, and our goals without the interference of outside noise. When we remove ourselves from the chatter, we begin to see clearly. We begin to notice what truly matters and where our energy should be going. This clarity is where discipline is born and sustained. Discipline thrives in controlled environments, and silence is one of the most controlled environments we can create. It removes temptation, it removes comparison, it removes the pressure to react or impress. In silence, there's no audience to perform for, just the reality of your own effort and whether or not you're putting in the work. It forces accountability. Are you doing what you said you would do? Are you staying consistent? Are you committed even when no one is watching? These are the questions that silence brings to the surface, and the answers shape your path forward. Focus is sharpened when external distractions fade. The mind, free from interruptions, begins to enter a state of flow where productivity deepens. Thoughts become more organized. Ideas surface with more strength. There's space to think longer, more critically, more creatively. You can sit with a problem until it's solved. You can stay with a task until it's finished. This uninterrupted attention is what leads to mastery in any area of life, whether it's business, craft, health, or personal development. And silence is the doorway to that kind of focus. In silence, we also start to notice patterns. Patterns in our behavior, in our choices, in our thinking. Without noise to distract us, our minds turn inward. We reflect. We analyze. We become aware of the habits that serve us and those that sabotage us. This awareness is essential for growth. You cannot change what you do not recognize. And silence brings that recognition into view. When you remove yourself from the noise of the world, you stop absorbing everyone else's opinions, values, and goals, and you start reconnecting with your own. You begin to ask yourself what you truly want, what you're willing to do for it, and how you will get there. Deep work, the kind of work that creates breakthroughs, builds careers, and transforms lives, does not happen in chaos. It happens in solitude. It happens in focused, silent commitment to a task or a vision. It requires space to think, time to struggle through complexity, and the absence of distractions that fragment attention. In silence, there is room for depth. You go beyond surface-level productivity. You stop checking boxes and start building systems. You stop chasing quick wins and start investing in long-term growth. That is the power of silence. It doesn't just help you hear yourself, it helps you build yourself from the inside out. Listening and observing are more powerful than constant speaking. In conversations, meetings, and daily interactions, the one who speaks the most isn't always the one with the greatest influence. Often it is the listener, the one who watches, pays attention, and studies the environment, who gains the most insight and holds the true advantage. There is a reason why some of the most respected leaders, strategists, and thinkers are known for their ability to remain quiet in a room full of noise. They don't rush to speak. They don't interrupt to be heard. They allow others to reveal themselves through words, while they gather information through silence. Listening is a skill, and like any skill, it requires practice and discipline. It means resisting the urge to respond too quickly, to fill the silence, or to assert your opinion before fully understanding what's being said. True listening is active. It involves more than just hearing words. It's about decoding meaning, noticing tone, identifying contradictions, and sensing emotion beneath the surface. This level of attention gives you a clearer picture of reality. It shows you what's really going on, not just what's being presented on the surface. When you listen deeply, people tell you everything, even when they think they're saying nothing. Observation adds another layer of power. While others are busy expressing themselves, you are watching. You are studying behavior, body language, patterns, and shifts in energy. You begin to see what others miss. You can tell when someone is uncertain, when they are hiding something, when they are bluffing, or when they are being honest. You learn to see beyond the words. This kind of perception is incredibly valuable in business, in relationships, in leadership, and in personal growth. It helps you make better decisions, avoid unnecessary conflict, and seize opportunities others overlook. In silence, you also give people space to show their true selves. The less you speak, the more others fill the gaps. They reveal intentions, values, and even weaknesses. People who constantly talk often reveal more than they realize. But the one who listens, who says little, who waits, has the advantage. They hold their thoughts until the right moment. When they do speak, their words carry weight because they've been shaped by understanding, not reaction. Their voice is trusted because it is rare and deliberate, not constant and careless. Listening and observing also build emotional intelligence. You become more aware of how others feel, what motivates them, and how they respond to different situations. This awareness helps you connect, influence, and lead with greater effectiveness. You learn to navigate difficult conversations, resolve conflict, and support others without dominating them. The quiet observer often becomes the wisest presence in the room, not because they know everything, but because they see clearly and understand deeply. In a world full of noise, the person who can truly listen and observe stands out. They possess a quiet strength that others can feel. They don't need to announce their insight or prove their value constantly. Their understanding does that for them. Their awareness becomes their power, and their silence becomes their signal that they are paying attention when others are too busy speaking. Keeping your goals and progress private is a powerful form of protection. In a time when everything is shared publicly, achievements, intentions, even personal struggles, the idea of working in silence feels almost radical. But there is real strength in keeping your ambitions to yourself. When you don't feel the need to announce your goals to everyone, you remove the pressure that often comes with public accountability. You take the focus off how things appear and place it fully on what actually matters, the work. Publicly sharing your goals can sometimes create a false sense of accomplishment. The moment you declare your intentions, you may receive encouragement, praise, or attention. That can feel good in the short term, but it often satisfies the part of your brain that craves reward, making it harder to stay committed to the grind. When the applause comes too early, the urgency to act can fade. You become more attached to the image of progress than the experience of it. By keeping your goals private, you keep the reward system intact. You don't celebrate prematurely, and that helps you stay hungry. Privacy also shields your mindset. When fewer people know what you're working on, fewer people can influence your thinking. You won't be distracted by doubts, criticisms, or unsolicited advice. You won't be pressured to justify your decisions or explain your progress at every turn. Your mental space remains clean, focused, and free of noise. That clarity is a major advantage. It allows you to follow your own strategy without interference, to pivot without judgment, and to evolve at your own pace. The fewer opinions you invite, the stronger your intuition becomes. Another benefit of keeping your goals private is the ability to move without resistance. People are less likely to question or challenge you when they don't know your destination. You can operate with more freedom, more creativity, and more precision. No one can sabotage what they don't see. No one can compete with a plan that hasn't been revealed. Privacy gives you the element of surprise. It allows your progress to appear suddenly, confidently, and undeniably without giving anyone a chance to prepare against it. This approach also teaches discipline. When your motivation isn't fueled by attention or external validation, it has to come from within. You learn to work hard without recognition, to stay consistent without praise. You become your own source of accountability. You stop performing and start producing. That internal fire is what separates those who chase goals from those who achieve them. The former wants to be seen doing the work. The latter wants to do the work so well that it doesn't need to be seen. It simply becomes evident through result. It is a deep confidence that comes from knowing you're making progress quietly. You don't need to prove yourself to others because you've already proven it to yourself in silence. Every hour you spend building something meaningful while the world remains unaware becomes a source of strength. The longer you work without the need for recognition, the more powerful you become when the time comes to reveal what you've done. Letting your consistency and habits build your reputation is one of the most reliable ways to earn lasting respect and influence. In a world that often celebrates talent, charisma, and quick wins, it's easy to overlook the quiet force of discipline repeated daily. But the truth is, reputations aren't built in moments of intensity. They're shaped in the routines, the systems, and the commitments you uphold when no one is watching. It's not what you do once that defines you, but what you do consistently, day in and day out, regardless of mood, circumstances, or audience. When people think of reputation, they often associate it with achievements, titles, or public recognition, but those are just outcomes. The foundation beneath every real accomplishment is built through habits, small, repeated actions that compound over time. Showing up every day, sticking to the process, and staying focused when distractions tempt you, these are the things that build character. They create trust. They send a message to yourself and to the world that you're not driven by impulse, but by purpose. Consistency is rare, and that's why it stands out. Many start with enthusiasm, but only a few persist through boredom, setbacks, and delays. The ones who keep going, who stay locked in on the mission, long after the excitement fades, are the ones who rise above. People notice that. They remember those who don't just talk about discipline, but embody it. Your habits become your identity, and that identity builds a reputation that speaks louder than any introduction ever could. Consistency also builds credibility. When others see that you always follow through, whether it's showing up on time, honoring your word, or maintaining your standards, they begin to trust you. That trust isn't formed overnight. It's earned slowly through repeated proof. And once it's built, it becomes an asset that opens doors, creates opportunities, and attracts the right people into your life. Your reputation becomes a magnet, not because you've advertised yourself, but because your actions have left a mark on people's memory. Habits create structure. They remove decision fatigue, reduce friction, and allow you to operate at a high level even on tough days. They free up mental energy for deeper work and clearer thinking. When your life is built on strong habits, you don't need to rely on bursts of motivation. You move forward through discipline. Over time, that creates stability. It builds momentum. You start to accomplish more, not through force, but through flow. Eventually, your consistency begins to speak for itself. People start to associate your name with reliability, quality, and effort. You no longer have to convince anyone of your value. They already know. Because you've shown it, because your actions have spoken every single day. That's the kind of reputation that lasts. The kind that doesn't need to be promoted, because it's already been proven. Not through speeches or promises, but through a steady stream of effort that never stopped, no matter what came your way. When results speak louder than words, you gain a level of credibility that cannot be denied or debated. In a world full of noise where people are constantly making claims, setting lofty goals, and promising transformation, results cut through everything. They don't require explanation. They don't beg for validation. They simply exist as undeniable proof of effort, consistency, and execution. When you let your results speak for you, you separate yourself from the crowd. While others are busy trying to convince people of their value, you let your achievements do the talking, and that creates an impact that words alone could never achieve. The pursuit of visible results often starts quietly. Behind every success story lies a period of intense work that no one saw. Long nights, focused mornings, routines that most would avoid, and sacrifices that go unnoticed. This stage is where character is forged. It's where resilience is built. And it's where the foundation of real results begins to form. Talking about what you're going to do might bring temporary attention, but executing it without needing an audience brings lasting influence. Results come from the doing, not the declaring. When you produce results, you eliminate doubt. People might question your approach, challenge your ideas, or criticize your silence, but results create a response they can't ignore. They're a mirror that reflects effort. No one can argue with outcomes backed by real discipline and consistent action. You don't need to defend yourself when your results stand tall. The more you accomplish, the less you have to explain, and the less energy you waste trying to prove yourself. That energy can be reinvested into more action, more growth, and more refinement of your craft. Allowing results to speak builds quiet confidence. It's not the kind of confidence that shouts or boasts. It's the calm, grounded assurance that comes from knowing you've done the work. It's a confidence rooted in preparation, not performance. This kind of confidence is magnetic. It attracts the right people, earns respect, and opens doors because it's clear that you are capable, disciplined, and trustworthy. You become the person people look to not for words, but for results, for leadership, for execution under pressure. When you focus on results, you naturally become outcome-driven. You don't get distracted by drama, by what others are saying, or by the temptation to overexpose your process. You remain focused on moving forward, improving, and building. Results become your language. Every milestone, every breakthrough, every deliverable becomes a statement of purpose. And because you didn't seek applause along the way, the impact is even more powerful. It arrives with strength, with substance, and with the surprise of quiet consistency coming to fruition. Those who let results speak often become the most respected in any field. They are remembered not for how often they talked, but for how often they delivered. Their silence wasn't a lack of ambition. It was a sign of maturity, of focus, of knowing that what matters isn't how loudly you speak about your vision, but how clearly you bring it to life through action.